Hello everyone, Storm101 here. Today we'll be talking about a nor'easter that will bring major to significant impacts along parts of the East Coast. We could see some major impacts for parts of anywhere from northeastern North Carolina all the way up into parts of Maine as well. We'll be talking about some snowfall amounts and those winds as well the system can create, and that can lead to some coastal flooding as well with those strong winds. We'll also talk a little bit about the potential pattern change for mid to late next week. So it could be another active period of weather across parts of the central and in eastern U.S. Before we get started on this video, if you guys do like radio-related content, you can always subscribe to my channel. We do this stuff all the time on this channel. Plus, we'll be having more updates on this topic here as well. So definitely stay tuned for more videos as well to come, as we'll have more updates on these topics as well. So we're going to get started with a watch warning map display. We got winter storm watches and warnings anywhere from northeastern North Carolina all the way up to eastern Maine. These are areas where we've got to be really focused on for the potential for some major impacts here. Now, that significant impact threat will probably be more focused in eastern Massachusetts and probably in the parts of Rhode Island as well, where we can experience some very strong winds. And we're talking about wind gusts that could be between at least 50 to 60 miles per hour. And that point, you can get some damage just from those winds. And that can lead to blizzard conditions. We also got winter storm warnings for the Smoky Mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee. They're going to see quite a bit of snow there as well. And they got winter weather advisory all the way up into parts of West Virginia and Virginia as well. And those higher elevations can see a decent amount of snow as well. We're going to get started with the herd model, which is now mostly in range with this system. Now, before we kind of get into the nor'easter part, I'm watching at least tomorrow for parts of the Ohio Valley and the Tennessee Valley tomorrow. Watch what the herd model tries to spit out. There you go. So, what these are that the herd model is trying to spit out is what's known as snow squalls. And snow squalls, what they are is basically heavy to intense snow showers. You can get pretty high snowfall rates within a snow shower, and usually they last for a short period of time, but they can change conditions dramatically, especially if you're going to be driving on the roads as well. Things can turn slippery very quickly. Snow does accumulate very quickly as well. So if you do live in the parts of Kentucky and Tennessee, watch out for that potential for some snow squalls out there as well, which Hardball does show that pretty well out there as well. Now, going to the nor'easter part, you do see 1,002 millibar low. This is actually pretty far to the southeast, but we already have a little bit of snow breaking out from parts of the Carolinas all the way up into eastern Massachusetts. Now, honestly, in my opinion here, I think the Hermal is going to be a little too far to the east here, in my opinion. And things are starting to trend back a little bit to the west here. What's also pretty unrealistic about what the Hermals is trying to suggest, it tries to kind of have two different lows. You do notice here there's also a little area right here, a little open spot within the isobars. That's a possibility for another low, which is not very accurate at all. And a couple models have been showing that. The European model showed that yesterday. It's gone now, but then again, this might be one of those type of flaw runs with the models here. Honestly, in my opinion here, there's just going to be one low. If there's going to be two lows out here, I don't know what to say about that. But it's likely to be the western one that'll take in control. Because as it kind of gets stronger, it does tend to move a little bit further to the west as well. Here's the NAM model, which was very far east on the last run. Now it's a different story today, which you can see there. You got moderate to at times heavy snow from northeastern North Carolina that goes up along the east coast for parts of Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and eventually up into Maine. A lot of states are going to be involved with this system. And check out some of those intense snow bands slamming eastern Massachusetts and Rhode Island. That's an area that can then again can experience some significant impacts. And also check out how strong this low is. 958 millibars. That's a very strong low. That can certainly cause major issues out there as well. Here's the high-risk Canadian, which has been one of the most accurate models out there so far this winter season. It definitely has similarities here. Maybe not as strong with the low, but it's also doing the same thing, showing two different lows. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have two different lows. It really doesn't. And even multiple meteorologists even mentioned that on Twitter as well, that this is not very accurate. And honestly, I do believe them as well. There's likely to be one main low here. And it's going to be this one. If the further west one is likely going to be the main low out of this. But even with two different lows that the high-risk Canadian is suggesting, it still pounds parts of Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and southeastern Massachusetts. Uh, I meant to say New Hampshire, and even getting up into parts of Maine as well. And here's the high-res NAM. You're going to be able to see those snow squalls show up pretty well again in the parts of the Ohio Valley and the Tennessee Valley as well. And you do see here from the high-res NAM, check out some of those very intense snow bands. This is also a little bit further east, but it's also trying to show two different lows. Still doesn't make a whole lot of sense for that to occur here. I think models will get a little bit better idea on this here as we get a little bit closer here and probably have a little bit more accurate output when we get all three pieces of energy, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. But you do notice there, eastern Massachusetts just getting slammed by heavy bands of snow. And it can last for a long time, too, for a while. You can see here the snow pretty much begins by 6 Saturday, and it pretty much the snow ends almost 24 hours later. So this is going to be a pretty long event, but that's just light to light snow. Some of the heaviest amount of snow can last for several hours. So it's going to last for a long period of time for the heavy snow to keep on coming in. Here's a rapid refresh here. It doesn't go for the entire event, but it's also further to the east with the low as well. And I do believe that things are going to trend a little bit westward with this low here as well. But there may be a possibility it could maintain its track here. But there's also still that possibility it could trend west. But I think the eastward trend is not going to happen in this type of range here, especially if you're going to be talking about a stronger system, which stronger systems do tend to have a westward track. Otherwise, a weaker low can go a little bit further east. So that's something that should be noted as well. Hermal doesn't go for any entire event, but you do see here some pretty good snowfall amounts out there. Southeastern Massachusetts, then again, it doesn't go for any entire event, but still got a lot of snow going on out there. NAM, now this is going to be an overkill. I'm just going to tell you guys this. This is going to be an overkill, but it's got at least 40 inches of snow in the parts of Massachusetts. Now, then again, in my opinion, that's going to be an overkill. I don't think we're going to see 40 inches of snow out of this event, but I do believe there's a chance that some areas can get a little over 2 feet of snow. I definitely believe in that, which that's still a lot of snow. But I don't think we're going to get to 40 inches. I don't see that happening. I think that's going to be a little bit of overkill. Even the Euro showed that on the Cacciari ratio as well, which I think that interesting. But then again, the NAM's been all over the place. It's not been a great model, and that's a similar situation with the Euro. It doesn't really flop around, but it also has kind of trouble with the tracks and some of these lows and stuff. It definitely has a little bit of trouble with that. Howard's Canadian, it's been the most accurate model so far this winter season, and it's got a lot of snow out there as well. And it's actually a little bit more widespread with it as well. It's got at least 8 inches of snow going down as far south as parts of southern Maryland. Doesn't quite get down to parts of southeastern Virginia and northeastern North Carolina, but either way, I think those areas could still experience some pretty good impacts out of the system here. It's got the entire state of New Jersey, anywhere from 6 to a foot of snow. But some of the higher snowfall amounts looks to be in the parts of Long Island, Connecticut, parts of Massachusetts, into Rhode Island as well, where it's got amounts a little over 18 inches, which I think that's a pretty accurate output from a weather model standpoint. And here's a higher zone, which is a little bit further east. It does. I don't think it goes for the entire event. No, it doesn't. Well, oh wait, never mind. It does go for the entire event. My bad. Anyway, it also has a lot of snow out there as well. 18 inches is still a lot of snow, but there's still some uncertainty with this here. Then again, if things do continue, some things may go a little bit further east. If that's the case, there won't not as many people will experience significant impacts. But if it does trend further west, more areas could see some major impacts out of the system as well. So there's still uncertainty with this system here. So that's why I don't really want to put out a snowfall forecast for this, because there's still plenty of uncertainty here. Plus, we're still about 2 to 3 days away from this event as well. Rapid refresh doesn't go throughout the entire event, but it does have some higher amounts than the parts of North Carolina, Virginia. That's also going to be a wild card down there as well. It's going to be tough to forecast. All right, let's check out the pieces of energy. We're going to use the Harris Canadian for this one. So our first piece of energy is now in the parts of the four quarter states. I'm pretty sure we got water balloon data out of that system, so we kind of have that. Our second piece of energy is now into western North Dakota, so hopefully we can get water balloon data out of that soon. But the third one doesn't come in until Friday evening. And really, by that point, those two pieces of energy that was in North Dakota in the four quarter states, they come together. But whenever Friday evening comes around, here comes the third piece of energy. And at this point, it's in northeastern Minnesota and western Wisconsin. And all three of these pieces of energy will come together into a big storm, which you can definitely see there becomes a little bit more negatively tilt. And you just get this massive storm system at that point as well. And that's how it's going to kind of come together as well. Now, whenever we get water balloon data from all three pieces of energy, it'll be very interesting to see if how things kind of change with the model guidance for upcoming systems. So then again, still some uncertainty with this system as well. This is the Weather Prediction Center's probabilities for snowfall accumulations. So this is for at least 2 inches of snow. Really, areas that I think has a really good chance to see at least 2 inches of snow would be areas in the brighter blue into the orange and red colors. Those people have at least a 50% chance to see it. And the best probabilities will be in areas in the orange and the red. That's at least an 80% chance. So we're pretty high probabilities from northeastern North Carolina all up into Maine. How about at least 4 inches of snow? You still got pretty good probabilities to get down as far south as southeastern Virginia, which does include Norfolk, Virginia. And you can see it's still got those high probabilities all the way going up into Maine. How about at least 8 inches of snow? Still got some pretty good probabilities out there. Some of those better probabilities gets as far south as southern Maryland. How about at least a foot of snow? Okay, we're starting to get a little bit more focused in an area at this point. It's got some of the greatest probabilities in eastern Massachusetts. At least 18 inches of snow. Let's kind of zoom in here. Some of the highest probabilities are in the parts of Rhode Island and eastern Massachusetts. How about at least 2 feet of snow? Still got some decent probabilities. That's a 40 to 50% chance. That's a pretty decent probability for 2 feet of snow. And how about at least 30 inches of snow? We still got probabilities out there, but that's a low chance. That's a 20 to 30% chance. That's kind of a low end chance. But there is a possibility that if this system does become an overachiever, yeah, we can definitely see some areas that may able to achieve maybe well over 30 inches of snow. But I think the max, in my opinion, at this point here, which I think the most of the amounts would be where they have highlighted somewhere in this area right here. I think the highest at max will probably maybe somewhere between 24 or 27 inches of snow. That's at least at the max. I'm talking about the max. If we're talking about a range in this area in here, it could be as low as 18 and it could be as high as 24 inches. But there might be some overachievers mixed in there. And that will be a couple inches higher. So then again, if you do live, well, let's go and talk about the wind first before I say something else. Get a little bit further. So this is a European model. You can see here, really got a very organized system. This is sustained wind. Actually, never mind. This is wind gusts. Check out these wind gusts along the coastline. I mean, for blizzard conditions, that's almost brutal. Over, I believe that's Cape Cod. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the name here is Cape Cod. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I apologize if I'm wrong with the name there. But anyways, 85 mile per hour wind gusts. That's, in my opinion, that's brutal. I mean, that's you could get significant impacts out of that. But even a little further inland, it's got Boston, 60 mile per hour wind gusts. Providence, 57 mile per hour wind gusts. Portland, Maine, 56. So, yeah, this system's going to be a big wind maker either way. If there's going to be two different lows, it's still going to be a big wind maker. If it's all into one level, it seems like the most accurate solution. It's the wind gusts are going to be higher. Here's a GFS model. Still going to get some pretty strong wind gusts. Some of the worst coastal flooding I imagine will probably in eastern Massachusetts right here, where your winds come from the north, and you can see some big time coastal flooding in some of those areas in there. And mix it in with some snow. I mean, them conditions are going to be very rough out there. Here's the high-rise dam here. If we move on to, let's back this up a little bit. 3 o'clock here in Eastern Time. Still got very strong wind gusts out there as well. So either way, there's no guarantee there's going to be blizzard conditions out here, especially in eastern Massachusetts and Rhode Island. There could be blizzard conditions up in the parts of southern Maine as well, to be another area I'll be focused on as well. But if you live in the parts of eastern Massachusetts or Rhode Island, just be prepared for some significant impacts. And also be ready for a possibility for a power outage because wind gusts, 50 to 70 miles per hour can do some damage out there, and there could be certainly be power outages out there as well. So also be prepared for that potential as well. But if you even live all the way down to northeastern North Carolina, I'll also be a little bit prepared despite of the uncertainty down there. I'll also still be prepared just in case if models do trend towards a little bit more on the higher end when it comes to snowfall, which the low end, it may not be a whole lot, but the higher end potential could be quite a bit of snow. So also be ready for that potential as well. So then again, parts of Maine, southeastern Massachusetts, New Hampshire. I don't know why I keep on saying Massachusetts. It's New Hampshire. Uh, most of Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Long Island, parts of southern New York, eastern New Jersey, southeastern Delaware, southeastern Maryland, southeastern Virginia, and northeastern North Carolina. Those be the areas that has the potential to see major impacts, and the significant impacts will probably be up in the parts of Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, southeastern New Hampshire, and southern Maine. Those are areas that could experience some of the worst impacts out of the system as well. And here's the What Prediction Center's Winter Source Severity Index. And this is a forecast. They do have areas out there in the extreme impacts category. That is a level 5 out of 5 on the scale. So, and even the red colors, that's where we can see major impacts. Orange colors, that's moderate impacts. And the yellow colors, that's where we'll see minor impacts. And then the blue colors, that's where we can experience limited impacts as well. But if you do live, especially in the red and purple areas, then again, just be prepared for some major to extreme impacts out of the system. It's going to be pretty rough. Just for what it's looking like right now, I guarantee it's probably going to be pretty rough out there as well. So I'll be prepared to get some pretty bad impacts out of the system as well. Okay, that's the nor'easter out of the way. Let's talk a little bit about mid to late next week. So there's going to be a pattern change, and what's going to be cause of that pattern change is what's known as the Pacific Northern American Oscillation, and it's situated out here in the parts of the western U.S., out in the parts of the Pacific. And the pattern we've been in what's known as a positive PNA, so it keeps a ridge in the parts of the western U.S. So they've been mostly on the quiet side over the last 2 weeks. And what's going to be happening now, it's going to transition over to a negative PNA, which is going to lead to some troughing in the parts of the western U.S. And when that happens, you get warm air that builds in the parts of southeast, and you just get another active setup of a combination of some weather out there. And expect different model outputs over the next several days here of how the model's going to evolve these lows. Which I know at this point here, some of the models show one low, but I do think there's going to be a chance for at least two lows out there. Here's the GFS. It shows a weaker low, but honestly, I think, in my opinion, I think it may be a little bit stronger because there's going to be a very sharp temperature gradient out here. You're talking about very cold temperatures back here, but you're also at the same time, you're talking about above normal temperatures out ahead of it. And some areas could be well above average with temperatures out ahead of this. So in the warm sector, we could see that potential for some severe weather to return to forecast. Winter weather on the backside of it in between. We could be also talking about the potential for some flooding issues as well. Some also been pretty consistent with a general 1 to 3 inches of rain. So that's something else we need to pay attention to, as well as that flooding potential, which the setup does favor these type of threats. So there's the GFS. Here's the Canadian Moss thoughts, and you know what? It's similar to the GFS, believe it or not. But then again, I'm still expecting some changes. And like I say here, for a potential for a second low develop, well, there's the Canadian model showing that potential there. And the last model we'll check out is the European model. And you can see here, still continues to show that low, but it's also stronger with that low as well. I think that might be a little bit more accurate uh, there as well. But then again, above normal temperatures in the warm sector, well below average temperatures on the backside of it. So then again, you got springtime and winter colliding with each other, and that's going to cause some big problems out there as well. So this is a little map that I created yesterday, and this kind of gives you an idea of what the setup is going to look like. Areas in the red is where I'm focused on for an active period of just weather in general. Could be anywhere from winter weather to flooding problems to severe weather issues. Um, so you'll have this southeast ridge out here, but over time, the cold air is going to win over time. First low, it's going to be a little bit further west, but if the second low does develop, that low track is likely going to be further to the south as well, because this cold and dry air is going to be pretty strong. It'll be very suppressed. Well, let me rephrase that real quick. So when the cold and dry air is usually stronger, it keeps things more suppressed. So it kind of makes everything shift a little bit further to southeast. So the cold and dry air will likely be winning at around this point here. What the southeast ridge is going to do at the same time as this cold dry air moves further to the southeast, it's going to have a warm and moist air move north. Those are what the green arrows indicate. And where they kind of collide here is where you can see your potential low track. And one, two of those could be a big low as well. And then again, over time, this cold and dry air is going to be able to help push the southeast ridge out of the way and keep it a little bit further to the east as well. And maybe towards next weekend, there can be some impacts for parts of the eastern U.S., but it's pretty unclear at this point if that'll be the case. But we'll be having more updates on this topic as well over the next several days. And there will likely be some changes on here as well. But anyways, guys, that's all for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Guys, like this video, hit the like button. If you really like my channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. If you got some questions about this, put the comment section down below. Or just got questions. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye and have a good day.